Hi, this is Dr. Jackie Gardner-Nix. I'm the Program Director of Neuronova Center for Mindful Solutions, and I'm a physician who deals very much with mindfulness in the clinical areas of my work. So today, in these COVID-19 times, as we're in early April 2020, I'm going to think about resilience and discuss that with you. Mindfulness does actually help with developing resilience, but it might not be intuitive until you really think it through. So let's just talk about the definition of resilience. And I'm using a definition that was in a paper published in 2013 in Behavioral Neuroscience by Wu and co-workers, where they look at understanding it and define resilience as the ability to adapt successfully in the face of stress and adversity. That's the key, actually, is adaptation. It's not in being impervious to challenging situations, but it is about accepting them and feeling the feelings associated, but being able to spend less time in the grip of the fear and adverse emotions, knowing that we do recover, that we do get to the other side of those emotions that are difficult for us, and knowing that there are ways that we are able to get there maybe a little faster with a little less impact on the biology of us. And so thinking about how we do that. First off, the adversity right now is pretty high for most people, whether we are frontline workers or whether we are, as it were, enclosed at home and not working and not bringing in income. So resilience is a powerful commodity for all of us at the moment. Part of being resilient to impactful challenges is the way we were brought up, the way we saw it modeled in our parents, the way we are genetically as well, but that genetics can be changed by our caregiving that we see modeled for us. So I shouldn't say the genetics is changed, but the epigenetics is changed, meaning that the way we use our genetic material can be changed by how we are role modeled during our lives and how we role model for others, by the way. So if we see a challenge, if we feel a challenge deeply, the way toward resilience involves such things as knowing it will pass, believing in ourselves that we can get by this and that we can adapt. Giving you an example of us, we've had to change all our trainings to online trainings instead of on-site and figure out ways that that will be an okay experience for the learners that we are delivering our courses to, our trainings to. And then also the number of identities we wear, and I call them our hats. And our hats can be soccer coach, mother, aunt, friend, and not necessarily all tied up in our careers, even though our careers may give us a tremendous boost and make us feel very proud of what we've achieved. If we're too attached to those careers and we can't pivot to something that's a little different and perhaps more appropriate for current times, then being less adaptable often will go with being less resilient. So the number of identities we have are important, and the pride in each of those identities is also important. I'm proud of being a grandmother. I'm proud of being a friend, and I'm proud of being a wife. And so all those things I would consider stack up well against the achievements of my career. So in mindfulness, which is a present moment intentional awareness with a suspending of judging so that we can be present with whatever arises and be insightful about our emotions, giving space to the adverse emotions, knowing they will pass, and gradually recovering, sometimes quickly recovering. That's all part of the resilience process that mindfulness can help us with. There are a couple of formal practices in mindfulness, one of which is called the mountain meditation, where we embody the strength of a mountain. And we think about or rather we become aware of the changing weather across the mountain. An analogy with the changing circumstances that we face. So the winter becomes the analogy with the difficult times, even though there is beauty in winter. The summer becomes the analogy with easier, more in control times, and yet it can have its own challenges, as we know. But sometimes the mountain meditation, in its embodiment and visualization, can be a tough one when embodying mountain-like characteristics are unwelcome and forced upon us. So some of our frontline workers certainly didn't choose to be out there and managing and trying to protect themselves in the times of COVID-19. And it can feel difficult to do a mountain meditation formal practice in those times. And for those times, maybe the embodiment of lake meditation, which is another one that is part of mindfulness courses and trainings. And in the lake one, we embody the lake, again, in its response to changing weathers. The winter, the spring, the summer, the fall. Analogizing those with the events in our own lives that can be very challenging to not very challenging and more in control. But in the lake one, we can visualize sinking to the lower reaches of the lake where the water gently undulates at the bottom, even though there is a stormy scene playing out above the surface of the lake. And in that visualization, that could be easier for those of us in the front line. Those people who feel that they are essential workers, they need to be out there, it helps with the paycheck for sure, but it's not really their choice to be forced into something that's potentially life-challenging and dangerous. So lake meditation in those times, embodying that feeling of being able to sink to the lower reaches, where there's just gentle undulations, looking up to the surface above us, where we know above it there are challenging times. That might be an easier visualization and formal practice in the extreme challenges that we have at the moment with COVID-19 as a pandemic around the world. So those are some thoughts about the impacts that we are currently experiencing, and how mindfulness can help, and how certain formal practices that we choose can be the right ones in the right times for us. Thank you.